Hi, everyone. It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and I am so very excited to have this session of some high-powered women with great observational skills as well as their their courtroom skills. Hello, CK Hoffler. How are you?
I'm fine, Sybil. It's so good to be here tonight. And this has been a great day. And when you talk about courtroom, great day. We saw the resolution of the McMichael Bryan murder of
Yes.
Ahmaud Arbery, a murder conviction pretty much on all counts. For Travis McMichael, yes, all counts. For Greg McMichael, 8 counts. And for Willie Bryan, 6 counts.
Willie Roddy
Mm,
Brian.
Yeah, Roddy Bryant. Yeah, Roddy
yes.
Bryant, 6 counts. But the bottom line is, on each of under Georgia law, each of those men will be in jail for life if it
Yeah.
all hands.
So let's
Depends.
talk about that. Myra J, you also are in Georgia, and we were texting back and forth a little bit today, as well as the last few days. And I've been texting CK. She's like, "I'm on the air. I can't talk to you right now. I've got to do this. I got to do legal stuff." But I really appreciate that. And then, of course, our social justice activist Kwyn Townsend Riley. Hi, Kwyn. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're good.
Good,
We're good.
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 This as you said, CK, it was a good day. And so let's take a look at what's really going on, what really happened on this day as we look into, as you said, the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, and the men who were charged in this have now all been convicted. They
Mm.
are now facing charges that could put them in prison for the rest of their lives.
That's
Correct.
absolutely right. That's correct.
So, CK, let's go back to as they made the announcement, because I got to tell you, I had a sense of peace about me. I
Mhm.
didn't have the kind of anxiety that I had with the Rittenhouse case before that verdict came down, and I don't know why. I just sensed that this case had gone so well. And especially because of the prosecutor, she was awesome.
She was.
But I just had a sense. Did you have anything? Did you have any anxiety? Were there any doubts that would go
Well,
this way?
I did have some doubts because I'm a trial lawyer, so there's never such a thing as a slam dunk. I've tried cases with all the evidence aligned, everything went off masterfully, and we got a verdict that didn't reflect how masterful we thought things went. And then I've had some little raggedy situations where the clients were jacked up, where the evidence came in beautifully, but the law wasn't on our side, and we were, and the verdict was a blockbuster verdict. And so, as a trial lawyer and as a lawyer for almost 35 years, um, I've seen so many things happen. So I take nothing for granted. There's no such thing as a slam dunk case. The only pause that I had was that comment that the judge made at the beginning during jury selection that he felt there was some intentional discrimination, but he was going to go forward with the trial. I took
Mhm,
exception to that because a judge is all powerful in a trial and could have taken a different decision.
mhm.
But other than that, I watched this trial from even before it started to
Sure.
the end, and every ruling of this judge was even handed. He was a very good judge from a temperament standpoint. And I represent, as you know, Sybil, I represent Reverend Jackson, have for 34 years. I also, in this case, represented a Transformative Justice Coalition, Barbara Arnwine and Daryl
Yeah.
Jones, because believe it or not, one of the first motions that the defense counsel, Mr. Goff, made was to preclude them from protesting peacefully on public property.
Right.
He said because they were obstructing. And so Barbara and Daryl called me. I had represented them before on a voting rights matter. And I said, don't let me have to go to Glenn County. You need something. And what I did is I got the Uber. Bruce Rogo, he's one of the best First Amendment. I tried a case with many years ago. Willie Gary and I tried a case with him in Pensacola, Florida. And I called him and I said, Bruce, I think we got a case. And we were ready to
Mm.
go.
Mhm.
And fortunately, the judge ruled appropriately, only to have Mr. Goff turn around and say, when Jesse Jackson wasn't even in the courtroom, because every black man must look like Jesse, Ahmaud Arbery, Mr. Arbery, Al Sharpton, all of them look alike. He said,
Mhm,
well, having Jesse Jackson, who was here in the courtroom, Jesse hadn't even been in the courtroom, but that was a masterful invitation for
mhm.
Reverend
Mm.
Jackson to come into the courtroom along and to assemble a group of ministers from all faiths, all colors, throughout the country to come and protest because they tried to exclude Black ministers from the courtroom. Same defense lawyer, the lawyer for Mr. Bryant. And so and again, I was prepared. I said, "Oh, we're gonna try. You're gonna try and exclude Reverend Jesse Jackson from the courtroom. That is never going to happen, not in today's world environment."
Right.
So those were two legal challenges that I was prepared to face and to confront because I'm in Atlanta, so I could have gotten there quickly. I'm licensed in Georgia. I could have filed whatever I need to file, and I had a team assembled. But I watched every aspect, Sybil, of this trial.
Sure.
I felt that the prosecutor did a masterful job. Her style was well received by the jury. You know, some people were saying, well, she's not talking about the race thing. She got 11 white people and one Black person. Race is throughout. You'd have to be Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, all the Jose Feliciano together in one place to not see.
Right. Let me ask you this, Myra. Did your blood boil at any particular point, as we talked about Goff and talking about, no more Black ministers in the courtroom, or wanting to have just taking out all of the potential jurors except for one Black person with all their preemptive strikes, Myra?
Well, I just thought he had a very interesting style. Like I told you, I thought I was watching the movie My Cousin Vinny. I'm like, they got this country bumpkin attorney up here thinking he's all that and a bag of chips. First of all, isn't he the same one who said he wish he had more Bubbas on the? Yeah. He wanted more Bubbas, but when he said no more Black pastor, I literally burst out laughing because this is just what I said. I said, ooh, you gonna get it because they coming. I knew the minute he said it, I said they gonna get together, and now they're coming by the hundreds. And that's exactly what happened. And don't even get me started with the woman attorney with what she said.
Well, her clothes there. Yeah. Kwyn, let me ask you this. Were you able, because as a student and, in school class, you got work and everything else, were you able to attend to this the way you wanted to and tend to it in terms of, getting as much information as you could?
Yeah, I want to say thank God for Twitter that recaps almost everything historic in this new day and age. But honestly, I had to set a boundary for both of these cases, the Rittenhouse case, as well as the case during Ahmaud Arbery's murder, just because my heart has still been broken since Breonna Taylor, that I was investing in and watching. And I know, like, when you talk about peace, I did feel an exhale during the George Floyd case, and I did feel an exhale hearing this verdict as well. I'm just thinking about the families that have seen like their sons and like daughters like names just in all display. So I hope that they're able to have some peace during this time as well. But yeah.
And as everybody has said, CK, it was a good day. And my heart just went out to Ahmaud's family, his mother and his father in particular, obviously. The things that were said about their child, the photographs of the murder itself were just broke your heart. Nobody wants to see that of anyone. Well, I don't, and let alone your own child. CK, there just has to be some discussion about will we see this again? Are we done? Or I know the justice must go on. Yeah,
we are not done. We are not done. Because this is one case. This is one victory. It's a great victory.
The justice must.
And Mr. Arbery, Ahmaud's father, he would not, and mother, they would not take no for an answer. They refused to be denied. Yeah. What you all may not know is the original prosecutor.
That's what I was going to ask you.
That's right. Yep. Which she did. First of all, Greg McMichael had been her investigator. Right. He's a former law enforcement officer. He called her from the scene. Yeah. Hello, excuse me. This is my paraphone. I got a little situation going. What do I do? She said, go home, wash up. Now, when you wash up in legal parlance, you are washing away evidence. And she told the police to stand down. That is obstruction of justice.
So that woman, where is she now, CK?
She's been indicted. She's no longer prosecuted because the Arbery family, she was coming up for re-election. And the Arbery family, it was too late to put a candidate on the ballot, but the Arbery family organized and got a write-in candidate who beat her. Yeah. And so she is no longer the district attorney. And she's facing her own criminal charges. I believe her trial's in February. You see, there's so much. This is why I've been saying the Justice Department needs to forge ahead with the hate crimes case.
And
Simply
who's
because
going to be that person who's going to go forward with the hate crimes case against these three men?
I don't know, but I think Kristen Clark, who is head of the Civil Rights Division, which is where the hate crimes fall right under.
Mhm.
You see, Kristen Clark is bad, and more bad phenomenal. She has an extraordinary, and I think we talked about this, Sybil, on your show,
Mhm.
extraordinary background. They gave her sheer hell during the confirmation process, but I knew she would get through, and she was spectacular. So, okay, now it's time for the Justice Department has already filed. And
Mhm.
so I know and I feel in my heart they're going to continue simply because there's a conviction on the state crimes. It doesn't mean we shouldn't have the hate crimes case. And the reason why that's important is because it's murder, meaning the other crimes, murder, all aggravated assault, kidnapping, plus bias. This country needs to understand that it will not be acceptable anymore going forward to have hate crimes and for people to think they can get away with it. Those days should be over. This administration can make that point, and this will begin a new trajectory of justice for those of us who are victims of hate crimes every single day.
For
So,
people who are
Sybil, yes, we'll
listening
continue.
this afternoon, I just want to reintroduce C.K. Hoffler. She is the past president of the National Bar Association, and she is an attorney there in Georgia. But as you also may see, she is chair of Rainbow Push Coalition. And C.K. Has been a friend to the show for a while now, and we really appreciate her legal acumen. I want to talk, C.K., about these three men facing malice murder, 4 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and criminal attempt charges. Travis McMichael was found guilty on all 9 of the charges.
Correct.
His father on 8, I believe.
Yes. He didn't have, he was not convicted of malice murder because he didn't pull the trigger and shoot him.
Mhm.
So neither he nor Mr. Bryan were convicted on that because malice murder, you've got an intentional, deliberate murder. And they could have been convicted on that, but the jury drew a distinction, which I found was okay.
Mhm.
And appropriate. And for Mr. Bryan, who thought he was going to get off, I'm not certain why, because
Mhm.
as I would argue with people, he was, after all, one of the people who trapped Ahmaud Arbery, to use their words, like a rat.
Right.
He
Right.
was one of those 2 trucks. He actually hit Ahmaud Arbery with his truck. How
Yeah.
in the world could he get off?
Right.
Now, so he was convicted of 6 counts, and there weren't really significant distinctions. But by the way, he's convicted on one of the murder count that will send him to prison for life, period.
When do you see that sentencing coming down?
I think it'll be sooner than typical because there is no reason to delay the sentencing. They've got a whole nother trial
Mhm.
that's coming up, and they're in custody, so they just need to and they're going to face life in prison. But I
And
take
and
nothing
and
for
and is
granted.
it up to the judge? Did I read this? It's up to the judge to determine whether parole plays a part in
It
this?
is. The sentencing guidelines in Georgia will dictate that they have life in prison, but whether they will be eligible for parole will be up to the judge.
Yeah.
And I think they're, but mandatorily, maybe 30 years. I don't know. These men
Right.
are
Yeah. Yeah.
60
That's what I
plus
read
years
too.
old now. I'm not
Yeah.
saying anything, but I think that for this heinous crime, a modern day lynching,
Mhm.
the sentence must be commensurate with the crime.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's I mean, we talk about criminal justice reform. What we receive in our community, Black and brown folks, we don't receive sentencing commensurate with the crime.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But in this instance, where there is a crime, where the jury spoke loudly and clearly, y'all are guilty across the board, period, end of discussion, then the sentencing should be commensurate with the crime, period, end of discussion. But just in the event there's something, we have a federal hate crime case
Mhm.
that will disclose. I've seen some video footage that the jury never saw.
Mhm.
Right after the incident happened, you could see, and I had to close my eyes just because of how my heart was beating. You could
Mhm.
see Ahmaud Arbery's body with a sheet over it right there, and Greg McMichael bragging about, well, because I've got my little gun here, and because after all, I'm this and that and that and this and that and this. Blood on his hands, blood on his shirt, Ahmaud Arbery's blood.
Blood.
And he's just going out talking, like like how we're talking. He's talking like that. Hey, not a care in the world. Of course, he didn't have a care in the world because no police was going into his car investigating. They were having a kind discussion. He had no handcuffs, nothing. He was just talking to talk and having a good old time and trying to cover his tracks because he had the district attorney tell him, "Man, go home, wash off, get washed, cleaned up, and
Right.
then go back." What?
Yeah, she
Who in
did.
the world has ever heard of that? And so all of that sends a chilling effect
Mm-hmm.
to all of us. I have two boys, and honestly, Sybil, I've said this to you before. Ahmaud Arbery could have been my child.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, my kids are athletic. They've jogged. They've actually, believe it or not, been chased before.
Mm.
They just
Mm.
happen to be fast runners in our neighborhood.
Wow.
How about that?
How about that?
So I take nothing for granted.
There was a moment after the first guilty charge was announced by the judge, and you heard a voice, and you heard just the lifting of, I'm not going to say excitement, but there was power in his response, and we couldn't see it, but later on finding out that that was Ahmaud's father, who was
Yes.
removed from the courtroom
Right.
because of this display, as the judge had said. And he was talking on his way out of the
He was.
courtroom, too.
And you know what? I knew it was his father because I spoke to his father. I knew it was his father because I ironically, Sybil, I was blocked off for MSNBC during that time. We didn't know the verdict was coming in. So
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about like legal analysis, blah, blah, blah. And they said, "Oh, just in, we've got a verdict. We think we've got a verdict. Let's double check." So I just happened to be on MSNBC talking about the case. But we didn't know when it was going to come, and it came. And so I heard and saw and was able to give commentary throughout
Mm-hmm.
as they were
Was
coming
great.
in. And so I knew that was Mr. Arbery because frankly, for me, it took everything, every orifice of my body not to just cry and
Mm-hmm.
break out in hallelujah. Everything.
The
It just took
chorus.
so
Yeah.
much for me. And it wasn't my child
Mm-hmm.
because I
But
just
it
felt
could
like,
have been.
yes,
That's the
it could have
thing.
been my child.
All
And it
of
almost
these.
was my child,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I felt some kind of way. And I sat for another 2 hours, commenting, doing my thing, right? And trying to be professional because I recognize, Sybil, like you, like all of us, we are representing our folks.
Yeah.
And so we can't, even though that was I had jubilation in my heart, just like with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. I
Yeah.
wanted to just put my head down on the desk and boo-hoo and cry because of
Mm-hmm.
what it means.
Yeah.
But I was on TV, so I kept on with the legal analysis, blah blah ba doo ba doo yabba dabba doo, and
Before
that's what
be,
we have to do.
before we end this, and because we've taken up so much of your time, I just want, what's the one thing that you want to leave with people at the close of this trial? We're not even talking about sentencing; we're talking about the way it was run. Just any thoughts that you want to leave with people as we close out our discussion on the murder trial of Ahmaud Arbery.
It's important to register to vote. When you
Mm-hmm.
register to vote, you're on the rolls to serve on juries. You
Yeah.
must register. You must show up for jury duty because next to serving this country in the military, jury duty is the strongest civic duty that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to stop electing judges, clerks of court, and prosecutors or district attorneys who are doing things that we know are bad for our communities.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take charge, do like Ahmaud Arbery's father did,
Yeah.
mother did, refused to be denied. Put in place another candidate who has the interests of the people. And that's what we can do. But if you don't register to vote, you can't really sit and be critical.
Right.
Because you can't go and have jury duty if you're not registered to vote. And even if you have been a convicted felon, everyone makes mistakes. In most jurisdictions, you can get your rights restored. So get them restored and register.
And there are organizations that will help you do that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
For free.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, absolutely. CK, you are a wonder. You are just so wonderful to come on and break it down for us. We so appreciate you and your time. And whenever the door is always open to you, whenever you want to, just talk about anything that's going on that you didn't get a chance to say on MSNBC or Court TV or any of the other things. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here. And please understand, Sybil, I love to come to you, and I always say first.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's
you do.
important for me to have this dialogue with our community, with people who care and want to hear different perspectives. And I do all the other stuff too because I like legal commentary, but it's always important for me to be here. So thank you, Sybil, and thank you for all that you do. Goodbye, ladies. Thank you for
Goodbye. Happy
everything.
Bye. It's nice
Thanksgiving.
meeting you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy holidays to you, my
Yes.
friend. We'll talk to you soon. That is the great attorney C.K. Hoffler joining us here today, talking about the Ahmaud Arbery case and what has come down. So let's take a breath. Let's take a second or a sip, Myra.
That was a second. You said take a second.
Myra, won't he do it, Jay? Yes, he will. And let's open up our door again and welcome in another bright light in our political spectrum. In our world, let us say hello to Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett, Jasmine 4100. And
Hello.
Jasmine, thank you so much. I know how busy you are. This has been a day for you, hasn't it?
It absolutely has. First of all, it's great to see you, Sybil.
It is so great to see you. I'm so excited. You know what? It was as if my own sister was making this announcement. I was so excited when we were, going back and forth on Instagram. So Jasmine Crockett is one of the young guns in the Texas state legislature who walked out of the Texas legislative session, the special session, or actually before the session started. The original session ended over Memorial Day weekend. They called a special session, and Jasmine was a part of that group of Democrats who walked out, got on their own vehicles, and went to Washington, D.C., where they stayed for a number of days. And so I'm wondering, and the discussion now is about what you announced today, and I'm wondering if what you saw in Washington D.C. is what made you decide, okay, I'm leaving this. Let me go and put my focus on the United States Congress because they need me.
I will not say that happened at all. It definitely didn't happen. You got crazy on every level, so no.
Yeah,
It definitely
that's
wasn't
true.
that. It was interesting because we went to DC because that was the only place that we could seek relief. You and I have talked about this more than once. And so it was encouraging that we were actually able to move the needle. But one thing DC has that Texas hasn't had in well over 20 years is they have a Democratic majority. And so Republicans have locked in their power for yet another decade here in the state of Texas. And we saw how bad it's gotten. Even those Republicans that I would consider to be halfway decent people, except for the fact that they allow people to pull their strings. And so they do things that are detrimental to Texans in general, but they at least had a hard time doing it, right? A lot of them are actually retiring. And so their replacements are going to be even more ridiculous. And I remember, when we were in DC is when these talks started. There were people that were reaching out to senior members saying, hey, that little Crockett girl, Eddie Bernice is her. That's her congresswoman, and she said she wasn't running. And I was like, okay, first of all, I don't know why y'all know who my congresswoman is. My congresswoman, she has told people for years, at least a decade. Next time is the last time.
Right.
Next time is the last time. So I'm like, y'all don't know how she does this. I was like, y'all don't know my congresswoman, so she ain't going nowhere. And so I was like, not to mention they just as crazy up here as they are down there. But I remember speaking to an ambassador that's actually endorsing me. He was an ambassador under Clinton's administration to Zimbabwe, attorney or ambassador Tom McDonald. Yeah. And so he said, you know what? He said, what you need to understand is that you at least have an opportunity to actually be on offense on the federal level. Not to mention, if your congresswoman does retire, who is it that you think is actually better equipped to take her position? And I was like, that makes me nervous because they're going to be my congressperson too. And so, just running for the state house, I can't say that I was excited about it. And I was like, yes, let me run for the house. But I felt like it was necessary. And I felt like there are those that came before me that provided an opportunity for someone like me. And it wasn't for me to just sit here. It was for me to leave this world better than I found it. And so that same calling feels as if it's leading me to go ahead and do this congressional run. I appreciate the fact that the congresswoman saw something in me enough to endorse my candidacy to succeed her, which means a lot. She's the only person to ever hold that seat, and she's held it for almost 30 years. And so, I've got huge shoes to fill. after I get over the 15 or so people.
Right, because
that will
there's
be
a
in
lot
this
of
race.
hats that have been tossed into that ring.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of people, but it's all good because I'm the girl that fights for democracy. So
Okay.
I'll do the work.
So this is a part of our topical section because this is what's going on. Jasmine made her announcement today and is running for the congressional seat that's only been held by one person, Eddie Bernice Johnson. And when she leaves office, it will be 30 years in office in that position. A woman who's a woman of first, as we said in our What You Need to Know newsletter, in talking about her. So let me ask you this. She has endorsed you and you are looking forward to it. And I see you. Actually, I saw it before, Jasmine, but I see you joining your fellow St. Louis resident, Cori Bush, and being one of those young guns there who are going to go there and push for the right things for your people. Because that's what
Yeah,
you've done here.
absolutely. I mean, everyone keeps saying we finally get a squad member. I mean, that's all everybody keeps saying is Texas gets one, and I'm like, listen, like, I appreciate their voter confidence, but I'm gonna tell you that I never sought out to be a specific type of lawmaker. Like, for me, it was just a matter of I want to do what I feel like is necessary for the people. And I've continued to communicate with the people. I would be on the House floor. I have a town hall that I do no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing. We do a town hall once a month, every second Tuesday. And so I would do it from the House floor. I've done it from a Beto rally. I've done it from forum break. And so, the only thing that I can really hope that I would be is someone that the people continue to believe in, someone that they don't look at as just another politician, but someone who's actually going to raise their voices and understand their issues and won't someday kind of walk in and be like, but I'm the queen though, but will always kind of be that down to earth person that realizes that it's a privilege to serve and understands the definition of what it is to be a public servant. And so I those of you that don't know my story, I only won by 90 votes. And so, to go from literally being on the side of, no one really believing in me as it relates to kind of elected officials and things like that. I went to the people, but the power was always with the people.
Right.
And I made them believe that I was legit, like that I wasn't yet somebody else that was just trying to sell them another clunker.
Right.
Like they believed that I really was going to do right by them. And I think that while there are those, I'm sure in this race that will say, well, she only did 2 years, she only freshman. As of now,
just mention the name Barack Obama. Okay.
Exactly. And not to mention, it's not really the best place for any of my opponents to go because as of now, none of my opponents hold elected office. I most likely am going to be the only person who actually holds office currently. And so that's the difference. And I'm making a real sacrifice. I actually give up my seat to run for this seat, and I worked to beat 5 people to get my seat. So this is not something I take lightly.
Yeah, you're just not tossing it away. Yeah.
No, and I fought hard, but this is a bigger fight, and we have some significant federal issues that are specifically tied to Texas, and I think that there needs to be someone who truly understands those things up close and personal, who can advocate to kind of undo that. And get us somewhat back on track or at least neutralized. I also understand and believe that I'll be going into a minority situation this next cycle. I do believe the U.S. House will flip. I kind of believe that the Senate may flip too.
Yeah.
Either way, we have 2 people that stall us out as if we don't have the majority anyway. And so, I think that having somebody that's been in that atmosphere where they're in the minority and they still had to get some things done while still being able to call people out as necessary.
Right.
I've been there. I've lived that. That's what I did. That's the only reason anybody knows who I am is because I was unafraid. And I think that that's what this time calls for is an unafraid, unapologetically Black woman who will fight for what's right in this historically Black seat.
So that's why I'm so excited because on Wednesday, we have 2 other unapologetically Black women, Myra J and Kwyn. And so I wanted us to have a little bit of a discussion, especially because they're coming and they're different states Illinois and Georgia. But I think that the questions that they may have for you are those that would apply to not only to you as a representative from Texas, from the Dallas area, but also to Black women everywhere. I really do believe that. Kwyn is our social justice activist, and we talk about a lot of issues that I think that you are already a part of these discussions, and just like and we're moving ahead to the What You Need to Know newsletter. But Kwyn has done a story, Jasmine, and about education in the state of Texas. It's crazy, but this young white girl slapped a Black teacher,
and the Black teacher got fired. What happened?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, that really is. That's what you think. So Kwyn, tell her.
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised, and that's quite sad. It's the times that we're living in, and honestly, I don't want to have to call people out left and right. It's quite exhausting.
Yeah.
What I would like for us to get back to is a time where we can at least agree on the basics. We can, like, the philosophical kind of things that separate us in general. Okay, fine. Let's disagree and let's fight it out. And whoever has the majority, you get to pass your bills on that issue, right? But right now, we're in such a crisis in this country that we're gonna fight over masks.
Yeah.
Like, nobody could have told me in a million years that we would have a fight about masks. No one could have told me that in the midst of a pandemic, which I would consider to be maybe like a health crisis of some sort, right? Like, I would consider it to be, that we would be faced with states that don't want to expand upon healthcare. I don't think that that's a liberal thing to say. Hey, you do realize the guy that's cooking your food may give you a deadly disease. It may be good if they can actually go to the doctor without feeling as if they're going to get bogged down with some crazy bill that they can't afford. It actually may save your life if we just kind of do this. And so, my hope and goal and prayer really for this country is that we can start to at least agree on the very basics. It's ridiculous that we are going backwards. It's ridiculous that we don't agree that everyone should have equal access to the ballot box. It's ridiculous that we don't agree that a woman or a child or a person should have control over their body when that was supposedly set out in Supreme Court precedents over 50 years ago. I just kind of want to get back to what was normal bad.
Right.
Like, this is bad. And so I'm hoping that, some of us that are willing to be brave enough to call out the badness and the ugly will be able to raise or ring enough alarms that people realize you can't just sit on your couch and say, my vote doesn't count.
Right.
People need to literally be motivated to not only vote, but to go out and support candidates that they believe in, as well as taking and educating others, because I am concerned about where we are in general with our democracy. And so, if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yep. Absolutely. I hope you'll come back and we can have a discussion and talk about some of these other things as the campaign goes on. Because I think days like this, there's just so much, and as we had our earlier discussion with C.K. Hoffler about the verdicts that came down today. But you're jumping into now this race. I'm very excited, and wish you a lot of luck. And I do hope that you will come back and have discussions with us on things that are going on, especially in this upcoming year. It's going to be crazy.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Future Congresswoman from the state of Texas. One thing I did want to talk to you ladies about, just in the short period of time we have, is about Thanksgiving and any of your traditions. Like, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but just in terms of any food things that you all are looking forward to, watching the parades on Thursday, anything?
I have been asked to make dressing, which I did not know I was going to make the dressing.
Do you
make dressing? Oh, I make hella dressing.
Oh.
I just hadn't planned to make hella dressing. I had just planned to make hella plate. Okay. So with the food shortage and everything, when you have to run out at the last minute, just like I said, see, y'all laughed at me last week when I said I ran out and I got them 2 cans of the jellied Ocean Spray cranberry sauce.
Yes.
And I received a little flack for that, but now I need to bring them alongside to serveth
That's funny.
with
Service.
serveth with the dressing and the Cornish
The Helleth dress.
the hella dressing,
Okay.
Okay.
being stuffed with the Cornish hens. Yes, that's
Gotcha.
Mm.
Gotcha. All right, so it is time for us to talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. And Kwyn, this is what I wanted you to talk about is this particular story. The What You Need to Know newsletter is what we work on every day, and to tell stories primarily from an African American perspective, or to give the insight to the African American community. Please go to SybilWilkes.com, and it is an absolutely free subscription Monday through Friday, including the holidays. I'm just saying. And this particular issue, as I mentioned earlier, Kwyn, this issue talks. You have a story about a white student that did what to a black teacher?
She used racially charged slurs, and she also put her hands. This is a freshman high school student in Castleberry High School, Fort Worth, Texas, that was so angry and so charged up and was, just spewing out this hateful stuff. She was on the phone trying to call her mother, the freshman student, and the teacher kept trying to calm her down to get her to take a seat. And there is this hilarious moment, because this is a video. There's this moment when the student, she's white. She said something else racially charged, like, you're black, like, get the F away from me, BRTCH. The teacher literally looked at the camera and was just like, I know, okay. And she just like, it just looked as if she just said, I'm not going to handle this.
Not
so
today, Lord.
Right, she went to the hallway and was like, oh, y'all need to come get in here and come get this girl, because she clearly is wilding. But what I was able to find out is that the young lady, the freshman, the mother, Brittany Evans, actually said that her daughter is autistic, is bipolar, battles with depression and lots of anxious distress. She said the mother, Brittany Evans, said that she had more than 10 meetings with school officials to actually try and get her daughter moved to another classroom with students that face the similar battles and needs that she has, and she hasn't had any type of success. And the mother said that she would like to meet the teacher, and not only to apologize, but to congratulate her on her type of calmness and her type of reconciliation that she was able to have with her daughter. And the Independent School District of Castleberry, they have released a statement saying they're greatly disturbed of the incident, understand that this aggressive, behavior towards an African American teacher is not something that they condone, and they want to commend the teacher as well for her calm demeanor. But I think this story is so interesting, not because of the racial incident, but also the placement that we have for students that have special needs, and seeing that she wasn't taken seriously. And this is how heightened situations actually can come to fruition when when parents are telling facilitators and administrators, hey, my student, my daughter, my son needs this, they should not be in this classroom, and it's overlooked. So I'm grateful that the teacher didn't get fired. I'm grateful that the student hopefully is going to get the help that she needs. She is currently facing criminal charges. This is something the police has now gotten involved in, since she has put her hands on the teacher. But I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, I am too. The circumstances surrounding it, with all of her emotional needs and challenges, are understandable. But I got to tell you, that teacher, what? I grew up in a household with a Chicago public school teacher, and I know between my mom and her friends and colleagues, that teacher's she's a good one, because
absolutely.
Myra,
I have a master's in education, and I was asked at one point, did I want to teach? And no, just no, because I don't have the patience for it.
right?
I would love to teach children, but special needs, that's a different issue. But not everybody is special needs. Some of y'all just special, and and you need a different kind of attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you don't need to get it from me. And so
You're not the one.
I am not the one to be teaching your child, because they're gonna learn a different kind of lesson today.
Right. Right. And you're in the classroom, Kwyn. I mean, you're in a different type of classroom, but the dynamics. Could you have handled that?
I have had my experiences. I've taught in elementary school spaces and in high school spaces. And it is a whole different type of environment when you are dealing with students that come from different households that have not been accommodated, that do have diverse needs. And it really does require a deeper depth of like understanding and patience. I know in elementary school, I taught at Doolittle, and there are lots of students. They really taught us, 47th and King. Yeah. They told us we had to teach, within a trauma-informed lens, because these are students who come from single-parent households who are used to the sounds of yelling, cuss words, arguments, that don't understand like please and like may I. So all of these things were being taught. As a teacher, I'm just supposed to I'm supposed to follow the syllabus. Not also teach your children how to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and also teach them how to use a fork and a spoon and all these different types of stuff. So I just give credit to, especially Chicago public schools. Like I love all my teachers. We gotta appreciate our teachers so much more, because they are literally parents, caregivers, mentors, and all these things that they originally didn't sign up for, like within the role. So I don't know.
I think that there was a greater appreciation for a lot of people of teachers last year when we were
during the pandemic, yes.
And then people were like, ooh, you know what? You are a better person than I am. And this was a lot of the notes that teachers were receiving from the parents. But it just doesn't. I mean, everything is so different. Everything, as you said, is so heightened now. It's just hard. And nobody told this teacher. She may have figured this child was special, but and this mother, there's just so much there. There's just so much there, and they're not paid enough.
I was just about to say they are overworked and underpaid, and this has been going on. These are our educators. They should be revered the same way we do with athletes and celebrities. To me, that's the same spotlight we should shine on our teachers.
I remember as a little girl, my mom would come home, and she worked at Oakenwald, which was at 40th and Lake Park. And so this was at the time when the gangs were, big, and this was also the time when where they were really starting to build up, and also the time where you had regular antennas on your car. I don't know if you remember antennas, Kwyn.
Yes, I do.
But they on the regular they would snap off my mom's antenna and use it as a weapon.
Oh wow!
And so my dad, after a while, he's like, look. You gotta just deal with the static on your radio, because we can't keep trying to get you antennas and weaponize the people of your community. And so, and we can't afford it, because he was a fireman, she was a teacher. It's like, we don't have that kind of money, but those are the positions that I grew up respecting, but I just don't sense that. I mean. It doesn't matter if they're firemen or policemen or, teachers or the EMT people. They just don't get that. And they really should. And we should do everything we can to lift them up. I absolutely believe that. I mean, there's some bad apples in all areas, including radio and television. But, there's a lot that we should be doing to lift up these people and congratulate them for being, and like this teacher, for being just an incredible human being. Dr. R on YouTube says, as a retired educator, many students are not trained at home. That's true. Parents often laugh at misbehavior and make excuses for them instead of serving as a role model. And that's what social media shows too, Dr. R, right? Because you're like, oh, look at my kid, he's just cussing and carrying on, and and it's not cute.
It's not cute.
I worked as a probation officer at juvenile hall, and you have a group of girls here that have had some problems, and I would come in the unit. I only worked the weekends, and I'll be like, okay, this can be a fun day. Let's do blah, 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 blah. And you get, one or two on the test. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to jump over there and do da, 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 da. And you can't do nothing. No, baby sister. Let's get this straight. This is my job. You do that. I'm going to do this. I promise you. The worst that's going to happen to me is that I'm going to go to court. But I promise you, whatever they decide in court, you'll still be in the hospital. And they'll be like, ma'am, you can't say that to me. Yes, I just did. Go tell. Who you gonna tell? Okay, and so we had a certain respect there, because some children will test you. Now, this is a very special group to me that really just needs to be shown love and guidance. But
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we got to get to that love and guidance, though. Because you ain't gonna punch me in the face and I'm gonna hug you. That's not gonna happen.
No, that's what I was saying. It requires the depth of understanding. Like
Right.
the love really has to cross a different type of boundary when you're dealing with students that deal with so much abuse. I had a student that her mother shaved her head on Facebook Live because she came back home with a C. And this girl was just in 6th grade. And this whole time, none of the teachers are asking why she came to school with the lace front. And I said, Mariama, like, what's going on? Like, you trying on wigs? Like, okay, I was joking. And then she broke down in my room and started crying. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure no teachers actually even paid any type of mind. And she's the typical student that a lot of folks are just like put in this box, like, oh, she just acts out, she does this. But she was being abused at home, like physically and mentally.
Oh my goodness. Veronica Holman on YouTube said, I had a student came to school looking like he was dragged through the mud. We found out he had been fighting stepdad since 5 a.m. Yeah.
That's why, like, if the teacher would have responded the fire with fire, it would have just burned down the whole classroom.
Right.
So I'm just so glad, like, she had the water and the calmness to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to neutralize this. Like, you're so used to somebody snapping off on you. I'm going to give you something different. That's like, no, ma'am, we're not doing this in here. Like, there's a way to be a disciplinary without being like, I don't know, just rude and, like a dictator,
Right.
So.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it is. It's disturbing. A little boy told my mom, I'm going to have my daddy kill you. So my mother's like, okay, who's your daddy? And he was like a part of a big, he's a big leader of one of the gangs. And so, he came to pick up his son. And he said, see, this is my daddy. He gonna get you. And he said, man, what did you say? And so my mom said, he said, you're gonna kill me. And so he's like, oh, Miss Wilkes, I'm so sorry. Oh, he was doing that. He's like, anything I can do, please, don't. No, I'll take care of it. I'll take it. She goes, I know you will. Because if I did, it would be a whole different situation, sir.
But so much of this, including education, begins in the home.
Yeah.
It begins in the home.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing I did want to talk about. We talked with Jasmine Crockett about her run for the United States Congress, and she is running for the office that is going to be vacated by the First Lady of Texas politics. That is the great Eddie Bernice Johnson, who will be retiring. And this time she means it. She is not going to run after her term concludes. And so at the time in January of 2023, she will have served 30 years, and she will be the only person to serve that district. They opened up that district. She ran and has never looked back. But she has been has had an incredible career of first, and we thank her for her service and one of a group of just incredibly strong Black women in the United States Congress, and that we really, really respect and admire. So we wish her happy trails. She's been doing this for 30 years, and she's 85.
Wow.
It's 85. Yeah. So that's a good 85 that I want to be a part of. And also in the Black Owned Friday is back. Don't forget that. Google's Black Owned Friday. That is Koi's story, preparing to revamp Black Friday for a second year. And T-Pain is the face of this campaign, presenting 55 small businesses to potential buyers through a shoppable film called Black Owned Friday. So check that out on Google. And that is our newsletter. We have a lot of other stuff, but our time is not allowing us to have these conversations so much. So, and it's just been one of those crazy evenings in talking about things. But I do want to remind people as they our coronavirus update that is every day, and pediatric COVID infections are on the rise, and this is especially as we are preparing for a number of holidays and holiday events as we are going into closed spaces with people. Please, if you're not if you're not vaccinated, and you choose not to, I wish people would stay home. I don't want to prevent you from getting out there and being social and stuff. But if you're not vaccinated and you're not vaccinating your children, I don't think that we're serving anybody any good. It's a very selfish act on my part. Whether you choose to or not, that's your call. But
Right.
exposing, yourself, and especially those of us with, suppressed immune systems and other compromised situations. Just I don't know if you all have because they're talking about have your COVID test, your rapid test there before people come into the house, and all of this other kind of stuff. We're not going to do that, but
You know what? Just ask if somebody would be kind enough to do a drive-by and bring you a plate. Just have your foil ready. Have yourself some
Pearl.
aluminum foil. Get your foil and see if somebody will just kind of toss one out like a frisbee towards your door.
Or do like a Zoom chat. We did a Zoom Christmas get together last year. It could very be cute via Zoom. You get the filters and everything.
And then you know what? That next Monday, people like judges will have Zoom calls and they'll be looking like kittens and things like that.
Right, with the little Santa hat.
Remember that.
That was so cute.
Yeah. So let me ask you this as we move to entertainment. Will Smith and LL Cool J apparently have discussed appearing on a Versus together. Is this a good idea? Will Smith, LL Cool J. And I know I know how you feel about Versus, but okay, so Will Smith, not versus LL Myra, but Will Smith and LL Cool J.
Right.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay, so you're the first person that I've asked about this that says, yeah, that's okay, because most people are going, Will doesn't have a chance.
Well, let's get this straight. LL Cool J is going to eat him up.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. That's why I like to say, to me, that I get to look at two good-looking black men do their thing. I ain't mad. Bring them both, So, yeah.
So Will says that DJ Jazzy Jeff is his secret weapon, and that's how he thinks that, he would reign supreme in this Versus against LL Cool J.
Well, look, if you don't feel that way about yourself, who will? Okay. And I said that on purpose. Who will?
What do you think, Kwyn?
Do
you know
think in
Will
terms of
Smith?
discography? I was really thinking in my head, okay, how many songs does Will Smith honestly have? I was only really thinking about 2, but now I'm like, I was thinking Summertime and that song Switch. Remember he came up with that? That's the only 2 songs I was thinking of. But I also have only known LL Cool J.
Yummy.
Okay, so that's 3. But what's the LL Cool J song that I don't really know?
Oh my gosh! Now,
I just know he likes to lick his lips, and he's very fine. So I'll tune in, but that's all.
Well, I think that when you talk about discographies, I think LL's got it all over Will. So, but
well, let me just say this because we haven't talked since the last Versus, and
okay.
So I would just like to say,
for the record,
let's just bring 2 people out. And hope that I get one good performance. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think we did. Do you not?
Oh yeah.
I think we got. 1 good performance.
Yeah.
And I will say that, and I've said it before, and I will say it again. I love Stephanie Mills not only for her talent, but the way she held Shaka Khan up.
Yeah.
The way she held her, and she persisted.
Yes.
In the whole performance, the whole evening.
Yes. You talk about a ride or die, got your back. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I, even I'm not sure where they will perform again because I'm not so big on going to big stadiums. But I would love to see them perform again and have somebody hold the hold the key to the cabinet.
I was just about to say.
I heard some stuff that was like nobody's gonna comment on
And I'm just like, hold the cup. Okay. All right.
No, just say, oh, we'll celebrate after.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
two
and-
mega talents, without a doubt. Two
yeah,
mega talents.
for sure. And speaking of mega talents, congratulations to the one and only mother sucker, Michael Blackson has become a U.S. citizen. It's official.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, he
I
said
didn't
that.
know.
I know. He moved to Jersey from Africa when he was 13, and he was sworn in as an American citizen today. He
Oh,
said it was a
yay.
dream come true.
Okay, well, good. I had no idea.
I thought, because I've heard him in, on Air Voice and off,
Mhm.
and I didn't know that he wasn't already a citizen. Because
I just thought that's how they talk in Jersey.
Okay. No judgment.
Okay, no, he's a fine fellow, and
Okay.
and so different but fine. And the last thing I do want to talk about in entertainment about Aaron Rodgers' COVID toe.
What?
He has officially become the weirdest voice of the unvaccinated and face of the unvaccinated. Rumors floated around the internet that his mysterious toe injury was a symptom of his COVID diagnosis. And he wanted to set the record straight. So he pulled his bare foot out for everyone to see at a press conference. To see, the 37-year-old man went on to clarify the COVID toe comment he made on this episode of the podcast that he was on was a joke. And then he ripped an article in the newspaper, but he's like holding his foot up, and I can show you. And it's like, I want to show you my toe, and and just he did that on camera, and it was as disturbing as other things that he has said and done over the last few weeks. So that
Weird.
is. Yeah, pretty much. So that is it for Kwyn. I do want to ask you, the Grammy nominations came out,
Yeah.
and we were looking for your name.
I know.
How far along do you know that you got in the process? Or
I
do
actually
you?
don't know, because a lot of the information is actually kept within the people of the Recording Academy. But what I do know is that when you submit, your album originally for the first round of voting, the nominees that were announced on the 23rd are like the official nominees. And so shout out to Barack Obama, who got nominated, and Don Cheadle and Dave Chappelle and Jay Ivey.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll be able to do it like next year. But I was watching too.
I just want people to remember about She Worthy, and they can still download it and
100%.
hear the wonderful words of our own Kwyn Townsend Riley. So
so I'm not a Grammy nominated artist, but I am a Grammy submitted artist.
Okay.
Claim it.
Step up and let the folks know. And I should also tell you that your big brother said if you had been, the other guys would have had to step back to the side. And so absolutely. We know that good things are coming. And I wouldn't be surprised if you turn out to be one of those John Baptiste nominated artists. He got 11 nominations in the Grammy Awards. So
thank you.
Your time is coming.
Amen. Ashe. Yes, affirmations.
Sybil, we gotta say goodbye.
Okay. We're going to close with Yogi's Jewels. When you have good intentions, the universe conspires with opportunity. So inhale the good and exhale the bad. Have a wonderful holiday, ladies. And we will see you soon.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.